out of the house yet. I normally do my exercise first thing, and I haven't had a chance to get out. So yeah, feeling a little bit sort of fluttery in the chest.
Do you think that's because you haven't exercised? Like it's a little bit?
Yeah, exercise and fresh air.
Yeah, nice. I know it's like, but I suppose with the weather being what it is, kind of takes a back seat. I managed to get my run today, which actually surprisingly I haven't run for ages, and running it helped me this morning. So
yeah,
which
definitely.
is good. Most people are saying they're doing well. Good stuff. Katie's finished in the last few weeks of university. All right, awesome. Right, Michelle, I'm going to leave it out to you, the amazing Michelle. So I'm going to hit mute on mine. I'm also going to jump off my video and take it away, Michelle.
Okay, thank you very much, Paul, for inviting me along, and thanks everyone for the patience with technology. I've got to find something about privacy settings or something on my Mac, which I will figure out for next time if Paul decides to invite me back again. But I'm going to keep it sort of really informal today. If you've got any questions whilst I'm going through it, pop them in the chat. I'll try and answer them sort of interactively as I'm going. If you just overwhelm me with questions, then I'll answer them at the end. But I always make my talks really practical because I think it's really important that people have stuff to actually take away and start to implement straight away. So firstly, just a little bit about who I am. My name's Michelle and I'm a health coach. And for anyone that's never heard of a health coach before, our job is to basically stop people getting sick in the first place. So we very much, instead of having a healthcare system these days, we sadly seem to have a sick care system. And it's all about kind of curing people after they've already got ill. Whereas what we're trying to do is build up kind of a global team of health coaches to stop people actually getting sick in the first place. And we do that by basically looking at what's going on with people's lives. It's not just about food and exercise, because if you are stressed, you're not going to eat properly. And if you're tired, you're not going to exercise. So the whole point is the human body is like a mass of cogs. And if the cogs aren't all in line to turn properly, the body doesn't work. So that's where things like career, relationships, stress, sleep, and then yes, of course, food, spirituality, all kind of fit in together. So I work with my clients, both corporate and one-to-one, to help them basically rebalance things, to help them live longer, healthier, happier lives. So let's talk about where we are today. We're going to be having to live very differently. We're already living differently, but this isn't something that is going to sort of stop in the next couple of weeks and months. This is going to be a sort of a slow change back to whatever the new normal looks like. Someone the other day in a podcast I was listening to said it's like we've basically pressed the pause button on our lives. And the question is that when we get to press play again, what do we want our lives to look like? Which is kind of a whole another sort of talk and a whole lot of things for us to be thinking about. But with this talk today, I'm not here to teach you about well-being today. There is so much great information out there. I will cover it slightly, but I'm very much focusing on this. This is a very famous saying, which is a good hockey player plays where the puck is, but a great hockey player plays where the puck is going. So I'm going to look forward. I'm going to look at how we're going to be feeling over the next coming weeks and months. But I'm going to start with this, as I always start all of my talks, because I think it's really important. I'm going to start with the science. Change creates fear and uncertainty. We know that. Change is uncomfortable for people. It's why they tend to sit in their comfort zone so much, because moving out of your comfort zone is uncomfortable because you don't know what's going to happen. And fear is a primary emotion. You can generally recognize it through facial expressions. Like this guy. If you've seen Home Alone, you recognize that. We can tell he's in fear. And fear is a healthy response. It basically teaches us how to avoid danger in the future. So, using this as an example for crossing the road, we all know that we're meant to cross the road using the zebra crossing, because at some point in our lives, we've tried to cross it without a zebra crossing. Someone's beat the horn at us. There comes the fear. We don't want to get run over. So we learn from that. Let's use the zebra crossing. What I also love with this picture is now that they're social distancing as well. So to think and plan our lives, what we basically do is we process the information. We look at what's gone on in the past and we use that to basically plan and sort of look at scenarios for the future. So hay fever is a really good example of this. We know, because of past experience, that when the pollen starts to increase, People who suffer with hay fever, the symptoms start to kick in, itchy eyes, runny nose. So we then know what to do. We go to the chemist, we get the relevant medication, we take it, the symptoms ease. Hay fever is not a pleasant thing to have, but we all know that we will come out the other side of it. So we're okay with that because we've got that past knowledge. The challenge we've got now is very few of us, and I would probably say none of us on this video, have ever experienced a pandemic before. The last one was in 1918. That was when Spanish flu existed. So what's happening is we've all got this uncertainty. We don't know how to deal with it because we haven't got past experience to build it on, because none of us have ever been through it before. And what happens is when you take fear and you add uncertainty in, that's where anxiety starts to kick. And anxiety is a secondary emotion. It's something that's often invisible, both to ourselves, but also if we're looking at the people around us, we might not necessarily know they're feeling anxious. So I thought I'd share a little example of this. My wedding day. Now on my face, you see happiness, you see joy, which of course I was feeling. I was getting married and I wanted to be doing it, so I was excited. But behind that face, of course I was fearful. Of course I was anxious. The future is uncertain. You get married, who knows what's going to happen? We all hope for the best, but there is uncertainty. And yet my face was able to hide that. My dad, bless him, on the other hand, not so good at hiding the emotion. So anxiety is an emotion that is often characterized by feelings of tension. Paul asked at the beginning how I was feeling, and I said, I feel a bit like fluttery in my chest. I can feel that something's a bit imbalanced. You start to have those worried thoughts. You start to go down the negative spiral of what if. You get the physical emotions, the heart racing, the sweaty palms. Some people get to the point that they can't even physically see when they're feeling so anxious. But this is not a new emotion. Most of us, probably all of us, well, certainly now all of us, have experienced anxiety at some point in our lives. But what's happened is the volume now has been turned up to full level. We are not used to this sort of level of anxiety. And we go, there's isolation. This is not something that is normal for us. We're not meant to be confined. We're meant to be out there, back in the day of the caveman, hunting and gathering. And yet suddenly we are inside these four walls for pretty much most of the day, apart from your little exercise and your trip to the shop. But then you add in that homeschooling. So you're trying to work from home. You're trying to school your kids from home. This is not me and my children. This is a picture that went viral on the internet, but I think it really proves the point. And I know certainly looking at Paul's videos, Paul's having to be really creative to get his kids involved in actually his job so he can carry on teaching them and carry on doing his job. But on top of that, we've got another thing to add to our anxiety. Social media. They didn't have this in 1918 when Spanish flu was going on, but we've got it. And what happens is when it comes to the virus, you can social distance, you can wash your hands, you can self-isolate, we can do all of those things. But with social media, you cannot contain it. It's basically coughing and sneezing all over you every time you look at it. You see a picture like that, what happens? You freak out. Oh my God, what if there's no food left? Even worse, what if there's no toilet roll left? And then you go and do what these people did. It's like, how much toilet roll do you actually need? And now we've created this panic pandemic. It's almost not even about the virus anymore. It's about the panicking about the panicking. And what happens when we get into that state, this is the science bit again, the prefrontal cortex is the region of our brain where we make rational decisions, where our logic sits. And what happens is when we're in a state of panic, it goes offline, switches off. Our body is clever. Our body says when you are feeling so panicked that you can't make the right decision, I'm going to stop you making any decisions. You almost get to the point that you don't know what left and right is. But what happens is the emotional part of our brain takes over. And that's where the trouble really kicks in. And for anyone who's ever heard of this book, The Chimp Paradox, it's based on cognitive behavioral therapy. It's a brilliant book. It really helps understand the mind. But it refers to your emotional brain as the chimp. And the chimp is 4 times more powerful than the logic. So suddenly we're trying to be logic, we're trying to sort of be rational about what's going on around us, and yet we've just got this chimp going, nope, not going to let you be logical at all about it. It's science. It's the way that the brain physically works. We've just got to stop. And I'm going to stop for a minute. I'm going to take a little drink. So if anyone's got a drink, toast. It is water, not vodka. Cheers. So stop. We're all feeling scared and anxious, and this is completely understandable, but we will get through this together. There will be times, hopefully not in the very far future, where we'll be allowed back on the beaches with our friends and our families, having the fun, having the cuddles that we're all missing at the moment. So let's get to the practical bit. Let's get to the tools. As I said, I'm not going to go into depth about the tools to help you today. Everyone else is talking about them. Everyone has become a health expert. And I'm sure Paul has experienced the same as I am, that suddenly people who are not working within this industry have got lots of stuff to say about what you should be doing. And that is brilliant, because the more information out there, the more that people are hearing the good stuff, the better. But how do I know that all of this is going on and everyone is talking about this today? My traffic's gone down. I post hints and tips on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and I used to get quite a nice amount of hits, and now my traffic has gone down. But that's okay, because as long as people are getting their information from somewhere. But people are talking about this sort of stuff. I'll run through it really quickly with you because these things are important. But if you want to delve into any of these in more detail with me afterwards, give me a shout. Diet. People are talking about what we should be eating. Really simple, real food. Whole, single ingredient food. Mainly fruit and vegetables. No one can disagree. We all know that fruit and vegetables are good for us, particularly at the moment. It boosts your immune system. So eat real food, less processed. Exercise. We were talking about it at the beginning there. Maybe I feel a bit anxious today because I haven't been out for my morning exercise that I normally do before I start my day. So exercise isn't just about physical well-being, it's about mental well-being. New hobbies. Lots of people are talking about, we must learn lots of new stuff, better take up the guitar, learn Japanese. If you've got time, do those things. But if you haven't, don't feel bad about it. Doesn't matter if you don't learn to bake a sort of certain type of sourdough bread. Don't worry, don't stress yourself out about it. This isn't about becoming perfect. Connecting with people. Yes, we should be connecting with people. We should be connecting with families, with communities. That's a great thing. Use all the technology to do that. Stimulants. How many people, and I can't see your faces, but give me a thumbs up in the chat box if you're maybe drinking a little bit more than you normally would, or starting the day drinking earlier than you normally would. I know I certainly, particularly when the sun was out, suddenly it feels like rosé time, which is terrible because I would never normally be drinking every day of the week. So it's be aware of how much you're actually drinking when it comes to alcohol, but also by stimulants, I mean coffee. Getting up, using the excuse to get away from your desk, people are potentially having a lot more caffeine. Media consumption, we know the news is just telling us bad news. We know the news lies to us. Pictures, I'm in Brighton, pictures saying that Brighton Beach is packed. Those pictures were not recent pictures of Brighton Beach. Brighton Beach is not packed because I go down there and I cycle past it and I can see people are doing what they're meant to. They're social distancing. They're not just hanging out playing volleyball down at the volleyball court. So the media is telling you bad stuff. Read it once a day, but don't let yourself get bogged down because again, it's that negative spiral. And breathing. This one I am going to talk to you about. It's not possible for me to do a single talk without talking about it. But for those things, there's loads of information out there. But I'm going to talk about projecting forward, how we're going to be feeling as this goes on more and more. How we're already feeling as we've been in lockdown now, depending on where you are, but 4, 5, 6 weeks. So let's look at this chart. In the bottom left-hand side, we've got calm. That is before Corona. Everyone's got their own different stuff going on, but generally calm. We start to hear the stories about what's going on in China and the stress levels start to increase a bit. And then it starts to become real. And then what happens is that peak, the first level, is when suddenly lockdown happens. oh my goodness, can I work from home? Can I homeschool? Will I have enough food? We're at panic levels. And then the chart starts to go down slightly as we start to get used to the new norm. We realize that we will be able to eat and that the technology means that we can work from home. But then what happened was we had the second wave of panic that, okay, we're not getting out of here after 3 weeks. And this is where we're kind of at the moment, is that real, how long are we in this for? So let's focus on the second wave of well-being. Let's focus on the things that people aren't talking about. So here we go. And this is a bit ironic because we're on a video. But how many people are completely just overwhelmed by the amount of Zoom, Skype, Teams, whatever technology it is? Because suddenly it's like every conversation you have to see the face of the person. Technology is brilliant. It's enabling us to do this. It's enabling schools to teach children. But when you've got a one-to-one with someone, pick your phone up, speak to them on the phone. I do all of my one-to-one coaching on the phone. I want people up, walking around, going outside, getting some fresh air. And sometimes, and I think people more and more are starting to turn their videos off. We don't want people staring at us so much. It's exhausting to be staring at the screen so much. So tip 1, where possible, where you're not screen sharing like we're doing here, or you're not having a family pub quiz or whatever you're doing, when it's one-on-one, use the phone, have a walk around, get some fresh air. Tip 2, for anyone who's isolating with members of their family, much as we love them, don't want to be with them 24/7. I love my husband a lot, but don't need to see him all the time. It's really important to find some space to yourself. We would normally, in our normal day, on your commute, you might have some time to yourself, whether you're stood at the school gates waiting to pick the kids up, you've got some time to yourself. And yet suddenly there's this claustrophobic feeling of there's just people around you all the time, and you start to get annoyed and just get out of my face. So it's like, it's okay to say, do you know what? I need a bit of time to me. So make some rules. If you're in the garden and you're drinking out of your own special red mug, that means do not come and talk to me. I want to be on my own. Or if you're in the bathroom and you're having a bath or a shower, lock the door. That means the kids are not allowed to come in. Go and sit in your bedroom, read a book, let your mind wander, whatever it is, but find some time to yourself, because we are not used to being in such close proximity to people all of the time. Tip 3, they say variety is the spice of life. How many people have had the same thing for lunch pretty much every day? It's like a never-ending episode of Ready, Steady, Cook of what can we cook? We don't have that variety of, do I go to Pret? Do I go to Itsu? Do I go and sit in at Byron Burger? Or whatever your choice might be when it comes to food. When it comes to exercise, are you doing the same thing every day? Are you getting up? Are you going for that walk every day at the same time, walking the same place that you can walk because you know that no one else walks there? What's the things that you're doing that you're just going to be feeling bored of doing? Think of a new recipe that you've always wanted to cook, but you've never had time. If you're walking in the morning, maybe try couch to 5K. Maybe you could start building up to a little jog. If you're doing yoga, maybe you could try some high intensity stuff. Mix it up a little bit to stop that boredom. Find new things to do that you wouldn't normally do. My next door neighbour's become addicted to jigsaw puzzles. He'd never normally do jigsaw puzzles, but he just needs some variety. So think about how you can add that variety and mix it up a little bit. Tip 4. I know I talked about exercise and our daily tips and the importance of doing it, but now it's about exercising in small spaces, preferably not a cardboard box like this guy. But at the moment, we're fortunate. We're allowed out once a day. Hopefully that will continue. We don't know. But you do have to get used to exercising at home. So whatever that might be, putting a yoga mat in the corner of your sort of bedroom somewhere, whether that is using your stairs if you've got them to step up and down all the time, whether that is doing squats and lunges whilst you're making, like you put the kettle on, whatever it is, keep yourself moving, because exercise is really important, more for your mental health even than for your physical. And I'm going to answer a question here that Pia has asked for any tips for those living alone. So as you're saying, the opposite to sort of feeling overwhelmed by too many people. One thing I've been suggesting, Pia, is if you could put a little comment there about where you actually live. But one thing that I've actually done is I've become the street rep for the road that I live in. And up until now, I have never known my neighbours apart from the direct ones. And I've lived in this street for 8 years on and off. But by coming the street rep, suddenly I'm getting connection with people. I also have a purpose. So if someone is vulnerable and they need something, so there's an elderly lady who needs some shopping. And when I get a message from her saying she needs some shopping, it's almost like I've become a bit alive because I've got a bit of purpose for the day. So depending on where you're living, try and sort of connect to your local community through Facebook groups, or if no one is connecting where you're living, be that person that goes and puts leaflets through people's doors with your phone number saying, look, if you need help. I put a note on a Facebook group for my mother-in-law the other day. She lives 3 hours away. I can't be near her. She's living on her own. And she just said to me she was feeling really lonely. So I put a note on her Facebook group and saying, can anyone just say hi from the edge of the front sort of door, front garden? And the next day she messaged me, she'd had 4 cakes delivered. She's completely overwhelmed by the kindness of people. So I understand, Pia, if the people are not directly in your living space, think about the people around you in terms of the local community. But also there is sort of the Facebook pub quiz. I think it's at 8 o'clock on a Thursday night. There are so many now live Zoom things. So I do live yoga using Zoom, because the fact that my instructor can speak to me, at least I feel like I'm connecting with people. So rather than just watching kind of videos and pre-recorded stuff, get involved in the live stuff that you at least feel like there's some connection with people. But I know it's really hard, and I think that not being able to physically touch people, I know I'm missing kind of being, I'm a hugger. When I'm doing my client sessions, I walk in, I give everyone a big old hug, and it is just that missing that physical touch with people. So I do understand, and please, Pia, if you want someone to chat with, or you want to do a sort of a one-to-one on the sort of, we have a chat on the phone whilst we go for a walk together, let's do that. But also, you are allowed to see people from kind of a distance. So I know that there are some people, my mother-in-law does it with her partner, they live separately, but they meet up and they go for a walk. But they're at a distance from each other, they're not getting near each other. So maybe there's a way that you could sort of spend some time with people, but making sure you all keep safe. Right, I'll move on to tip 5. This has been particularly a difficult one, I think, because suddenly all the holidays that people have booked haven't happened, and it was Easter, and normally you take your time off. You use those long weekends to get as much time off without having to take time off work, if that makes sense. But still take a holiday. So for people on here who are working, book a day off. Have a staycation. Don't be on Zoom calls all day, but just kind of sit and do what you might normally do if you just had a bit of a random day off. If you've got a garden, maybe not today, because I don't know about you, but it's raining where I am. If you've got a garden, put the tent up in it, get the barbecue out, pack your bags with all your holiday clothes, and then put your holiday clothes on. Eat the food you'd normally eat on holiday. So if you potentially would have been going to Spain and eating lots of tapas and drinking red wine, within reason, obviously, make some tapas. Feel like you're still away. If you're fortunate and you've got a room in your house that is a spare room, don't go in it for the next 2 weeks. You're not allowed in it. And then in 2 weeks' time, go and have a little holiday in your spare room. Sounds really like a crazy thing, but the joy of a new space that you haven't been in. If you don't have a spare room, get some paint and paint one of your walls. If you like outdoor scenery, like a forest, or you like a seaside, paint it on your wall. Do something to feel like you're still getting a bit of a break and some time away from what is just becoming a bit Groundhog Day. Tip 6, treat yourself. And I do not mean something extravagant here, because finances are a challenge for so many people. I mean those little things. Over Easter, what normally happens when you're going out and about to the shop, you might buy a Cadbury's cream egg. It's kind of a treat over Easter, isn't it? Or if you're going into the chemist to pick up some paracetamol, maybe pick up a little thing of nail varnish and paint your toenails, or a face mask. Guys, you can do the face masks as well too. Just something small to have something to look forward to. Buy a new board game to do. Just, as I said, it doesn't have to be extravagant. It's really important that we have stuff to look forward to, because normally you'd be out and about every day browsing and putting stuff in your basket that is a little treat. So treat yourself to a mango if you wouldn't normally have a mango. So tip 7, Waste some time. How many people have never been more busy than they are now? From getting up in the morning, got to do the exercise, got to get your work done, got to now make lunch, because before you might not normally make lunch. Now the house is messier because you're all in the house more, so you've got to do more tidying up. So sometimes just stop. Just waste some time, whatever that might be. Box sets. I have all these box sets, not watched any of them because it's just too busy. So sit in the garden when the sun is shining, put a podcast on, ponder, read a book. I've started listening to audiobooks. I love it. I've listened to 2 of them so far, and it's great because I just have them on whilst I'm cooking, and I just feel like I'm kind of wasting time. So it is okay to not be baking bread, learning French, learning the guitar, being the perfect parent, being the perfect employee, manager, whatever. It's okay to just waste some time. Tip 8, forward planning. All those clever people who realized they were going to be working at home and went and bought all the gym equipment. And now the people trying to buy dumbbells and realizing that there aren't any, or if they are, they're about £400 because the demand has gone through the roof. Plan ahead. If you're going to want to start going for a bike ride, you might want to book your bike in now for a service, because I know my local bike shop, you cannot get your bike in for 2 weeks because they're so busy. If it is that you want to learn the guitar, you might want to order that guitar now, because in 2 weeks, you might not be able to get the guitar. Or the fact that if you want to get some paint to paint the shed, order it now, because you can't, well, you can now pop to B&Q if you're prepared to queue for 4 hours, but you need to be more organized. You need to think about what it is that you're going to do so that you can actually get the things done that you want to do, because we can't just go out and about like we used to and pick up the stuff. Amazon Prime is still a wonder, but even with that, some of the things you'd normally get the next day, not available. So plan ahead. Be positive. Tip 9. This is a hard one. And I read something where there's a lot of people saying, we're all in the same boat. We are not all in the same boat. We are all in the same storm, yes. But everybody's boat is very different. My boat is different to all of your boats. People who have to homeschool versus people who don't have to homeschool. People who have jobs versus don't have jobs at the moment. Our boats are not the same. Some people are in luxury yachts. Think of the celebrities, think of the Kardashians. I'm not in the same boat as them. It is different, but we have to think positive. Ultimately, when it comes to the way our thoughts work, is something happens, like where we are now. And then what happens, we have a thought, generally a negative one. And then our emotion comes off the back of that. And then our action is the final result. So if your thought in the morning is, I really do not want to get up and go to work, or I really do not want to get up and homeschool, what's going to happen is you have a negative thought. Your emotion starts to kick in, which feels demotivated, uninspired, lethargic. And then the action, if you do go to work or you do homeschool, you're not going to do either of them properly. Whereas if you teach yourself and you tell yourself when you wake up in the morning and you put your feet on that floor when you get out of bed, I'm going to have a great day today. And even if you don't know how, you might say, I'm going to have a great day today somehow. Positive thought. Suddenly you start to feel more inspired, more energized, more ready to go. And therefore, whatever you do off the back of that is going to be a more positive action. All the basis of CBT. So some examples here. You could be saying, I'm stuck at home, but why not say, I get to be safe in my home? You could be saying, I will get sick. You say, no, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do all the things that I need to decrease my chances of getting sick. And if I do, the NHS is amazing. So focus on the positive. I will run out of items. No, you won't. You've prepared for it. You've got everything you need. And if you do run out of something, now you've got all these amazing neighbours who will help you with what you need. Everything is shutting down. No, it's not. We can look at China. We can look at Italy. The important places stayed open. The pharmacies, the shops, they're still open. And the last one, there's too much uncertainty. Yes, there is uncertainty. We don't know what's going to happen, but let's look at what we can control, because that's where the power really kicks in. You can control your breath work, which we'll talk about next. Calling your loved ones, please getting enough sleep, proper nutrition, and doing activities that you love at home. So yes, there is uncertainty, But there is so many things that you can control. And my last tip is about breath. As I said, I don't do a single talk without talking about breath and the science bit. Taking a few deep breaths into your belly, not into your chest, basically turns your brain back on. It breaks the panic cycle. It allows us to start thinking logically again. And we are talking here about short practices. 63% reduction in anxiety by a short daily breath practice. So every morning on the Calm app, there's something called Daily Calm. It lasts for 10 minutes. I try and do it every morning. Not every morning's perfect. No one's perfect. But the days that I do that short practice for 10 minutes, I just feel better. I just feel ready to cope for the day because my brain has switched back on, but also your stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol, have rebalanced themselves. So breathing is the most important thing that you can do when you are feeling anxious, overwhelmed, stressed, whatever the word might be. So I'm going to take you through a short breath practice. I'm conscious of the time. I know we've got a hard stop at 2. We'll be done by then. I'm keeping this one short. I'm going to teach you shamatha. And it is as it says, it's to remain calm. And it's as simple as 4-4-8. So I want you to sit up straight with your feet on the floor. I'm assuming that you're going to do this. I can't see you. I'm trusting you're joining me in this. Put your hands face up comfortably somewhere on your lap. We're going to breathe in and out of our nose. Our nose is for breathing and smelling, and our mouth is for talking and eating. Our nose does a lot of scientific things with the breath. So if possible, breathe through the nose. If that's not possible because you've got sinus issues or breathing through your nose is a challenge, contact me separately because I can help you with that. But if you can't breathe through your nose, the mouth is okay, but please, where possible, shut your mouth, breathe through your nose. So what we're going to do, I'm going to talk you through 2 rounds. We're going to breathe in for 4, we're going to hold for 4, and we're going to breathe out for 8. I'll talk you through that twice, and then I want you to do 2 rounds on your own. Everyone has a different way of counting, so everyone takes a little bit longer or shorter, which is why I give you that space to do it on your own. As I said, I'll talk you through 2 rounds. You then do 2 rounds on your own. I will roughly figure out when I think that you've stopped breathing. When you stop, I would love if you could put some notes in the chat so I know what you've started to feel from it. So close your eyes, relax your shoulders, relax your face. Here we go. In through the nose for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. Out for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. Out for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Repeat twice more at your own pace. Okay, so I'm assuming that people have finished there. What I really try and show with that is that it only literally takes a minute. Thank you, Caroline, that you can feel the tension leaving. What you have done is you have re-leveled out the chemicals in your body. This is science. This is not woo-woo. You suddenly just feel that calm start to come in. I'm loving that, Janine and Jeanette. This is the power of breathing. It turns your brain back on. This is brilliant. Thank you so much for giving me the feedback on that. It is so powerful. And yet people don't do it, or they think that we all have to be in a room full of incense and omming. What is an om? It's an out breath. Anyone on here who smokes, you think you're addicted to cigarettes. What is smoking? It's just breathing. Maybe it's the breath that you're addicted to. If you can't remember the numbers or you've got children, do this with them. Start with 5 fingers. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, and repeat. And keep doing that until you just start to feel yourself relax. It's called practice. The hardest thing about building meditation into your habits is that you don't generally feel immediate sort of that it works straight away. And with a habit, building habits is about emotions, nothing to do with repetition. Watch my LinkedIn videos this week. I'm talking all about this. It's about feeling success. I'll answer that question for you in a minute about the breathing. But you've got to practice it. It's not natural for us to sit and just take time and do nothing. And if your brain is whirling, you've taken time to have a think. What's wrong with that? But the more you practice, like running, you've got to practice. Paul doesn't run a marathon without training. You've got to train for it. So find what works for you. Find the voice of the person. Find the practice that works for you. And the question here about some practitioners to say in the nose and out the mouth, it's different. That's a very different type of breath work. My husband is a breath coach. He understands the science way more than I do. And he runs free breathwork sessions on Instagram on a Wednesday and a Sunday evening. The Instagram account, I shall put it in there, is called Love to Learn To. Come and join him on one of his breathwork sessions. He does get you breathing in the nose and out the mouth at certain points, but 99% of the time, in the nose, out the nose. Certain ways of doing certain things with science when we're trying to build up nitric oxide in our nasal cavity and then deep breathe it back in, which is a massively anti-inflammatory, there's a lot of talk around breathing correctly is helping with coronavirus. My husband is working with people at the moment who, a lady with ME, a gentleman who hasn't slept properly for 20 years. The science of the breathing is so powerful that could talk about it for hours, but if you can join one of his sessions, he'll explain the science, he'll take you through the breath work, you will float. But the simple stuff, Calm, brilliant app. I've got a discount code from a podcast, so if you want it, I can put the code in there. Headspace, a bit like Calm, it's just a different voice. Personally, I like Tamara and Calm. Insight Timer, it's a free app. There's thousands of meditations on there. It's a bit trial and error. But yeah, the thing on there about breathing techniques being different, there are lots of different ways of breathing. There's breath holds. It's great for sports performance. But start really simple. Just start with a 4-4-8, or go even more simple, 3-4-5. But focus where the nose, unless you're working with a practitioner who understands the mouth. But if you do yoga, they talk about something which is the lion's breath, which is, and sometimes it is about having a good clear out. But as I said, 99% use your nose. So to finish off, so we have a bit of time for more questions at the end. Be calm, do your breathing, be kind to the people you live with, be tolerant with them. I'm really having to work on that one. Be kind to your neighbors, be kind to the community and the people who need you. But really importantly, be kind to yourself at this time. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to come out of this fluent in Japanese. You just have to come out of it as a strong person. We've got post-traumatic stress. We've got post-traumatic growth. Be kind to yourself and come out stronger. Be connected. And I know I've said about getting off the screens, but depression, the biggest cause of it is loneliness. So it's about connecting to people, whether that is out on your front step with your neighbors, whether that is via Zoom with your family and friends, whether that's joining a pub quiz with a load of random strangers, which I do on a Thursday night. I'm terrible at pub quizzes, but be connected. And if you need to find me, there's my website, there's all my different social media. I post lots of different videos every day of the week. As I said, I'm talking about habits this week. Last week I talked about protein. The week before I talked about drinks. Who knows what I'll talk about next week? But if you like little daily hints and tips, then you can find them on there. But please, if anyone has any questions, pop them in the chat. or I don't know how Paul set it up, if people can unmute themselves. But the main thing is just please look after yourself, look after your physical health, look after your mental health. I know Paul does so much amazing work around the mental health space, and we all need to support our mental health, because that's going to be the thing that once this virus is gone, we've still all got our mental health. And we've all got mental health. Some people's mental health is just stronger than other people's. So support each other. Anything I can do to help, any questions at all, put them in chat or message me afterwards. If you can join the breath work on, where are we now? Tuesday, tomorrow night, 8:30 on Love to Learn To. Come and fly with us. Feel emotions. You might cry. That's a good thing. You might laugh. That's a good thing. One thing's for sure, your body will feel more alive, because what you are doing is you are energizing yourself. Right, we've got, okay, Katie, you are very welcome. I know that sort of because we started late, but anyone wants to message me separately, Michelle at michelleflynncoaching.com, or through any of those. But thank you so much for your time. Thank you for jumping onto Zoom so quickly. I will figure out what's wrong with my machine, and hopefully Paul.
Thank you, Michelle, as well. I'm jumping in here as well. I'm going to just thank you so much for joining in. It's super, super valuable, and appreciate you as well migrating over to Zoom in the last minute.
You are welcome. But thanks for all the work you're doing, Paul. And yeah, if you want me back in the future, I can talk about
100%.
Building resilience.
100%. Thank you all guys for joining on. And like Michelle says, please do reach out to her. And I'm going to say as well, if she does amazing webinars, she's doing a lot of amazing stuff with private clients, and at the same time as well, working with companies. So don't hesitate to either reach out to Michelle or me. And also, Michelle's in the app, right? So if your company is signed up to the app, then Michelle's got some amazing content in there too.
I am, and my husband's in it as well, sharing.
And your husband, yeah, Matt's got a very powerful story. But guys, thank you so much for migrating over to Zoom and adapting to it as well. And Michelle, thanks to you, and we'll see you all next week again at the same time.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.